You are watching Access LaPorte County Channel 97. Coming up next is the May 27th meeting for the Long Beach Park Board. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Okay, we will call to order. I'm showing 6 o'clock. So welcome everybody to the May 27th Park Board meeting. First item on the agenda is to approve our April minutes. Can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's everybody. All right. Minutes approved. So we've got a lot of people here today, which is great. And so we're going to do it a little bit differently than we normally do. We're going to go ahead and do Beach Garden Club and do activity coordinator update like we always do in the beginning. And then we're going to go ahead and talk about what I think you all are here for, which is the pickleball courts, tennis court situation. And normally we would wait for public comments to the very end, which we won't do that to you since we're going to have an open discussion about options and what we're looking at. We'll just do a dialogue, but if you're going to talk, you're going to have to go up to the podium and talk. So you guys can like stand in line, or you can go one at a time, or do whatever you want to do. But the dialogue is going to have to be at the podium so we can record everything that we're talking about today. So just encourage very open discussion about that. We're really glad to have some people here because typically we're making decisions in a vacuum and then we get complaints later. It's really nice that you guys are here to talk about it before we spend any money on the project. So thank you. Some more people now, I think. Maybe not. Yeah, they're coming in. Okay, so we'll start with the Beach Garden Club update. Janice?
General Parks activity during the month of April and May, we completed all the quoting and the consultation for the Presby system in the park and out in front of Town Hall. Designed some landscape, saved some money from spending money with the architect, but it came out really nice. I think everybody did a great job. Thanks to Chief Mark, Greg, Austin, and also Tom for all their help and guidance to make this happen, as well as Parks for the budget to make it look pretty nice, I think. We coordinated with Duneland to have a joint meeting at the Public Safety Building this Saturday, which will be featuring Jack Pizzo, and he is an expert in native plants, and he's also going to do a presentation and hands-on down at Duneland Beach to demonstrate invasives along the beach and what to do about them. Beach Garden Club activity, we purchased numerous annuals and perennials. Almost all of them are planted. We're short a few yet to get in the ground, but it's been nice and cool and nothing's growing. So including the grass across the street, it's finally come in. Our spending to date is about $600. And there's a spreadsheet that I submitted to Meg for publication. The Beach Garden Club is having a garden walk on June 21st, and tickets bought to date are $64. There's notices of a couple events out on the bulletin board, so take a look at the bulletin board and watch social media, and the town newsletter will be out soon, and you'll learn more about that. Any questions?
Thanks as always for your group and what they do. Appreciate it.
It looks great out front.
All right, thank you, Janice. Okay, Madeline, activities coordinator update and summer camp.
All right, so really good news. Registration for camp and for tennis goes live on Sunday. So Sunday morning, everybody will be able to see the themes for the summer. They'll be able to sign their kids up ages 3 to 11 for summer camp. We're really, really excited. With that being said, we have all of our counselors hired and we have 2 tennis coaches hired. So we are good to go and ready for our kids this summer. We have some special activities. I think I had mentioned in the last meeting that I'm coordinating with Kayla and the police department. We're going to have a safety designated week this year at camp. So each day of that week, it'll be the week after 4th of July. But we're going to have the police department come. We're going to have all kinds of activities. We're going to do like water safety. We're going to do first aid safety, those kinds of things. So the kids will get hands-on experience. They're going to bring the dog over and do some training with the dogs. So really cool stuff for the kids to get involved with safety. That's a new thing this year. And then we've had the LaPorte County Library come in the past. They've brought the bus with them. We do have plans for them to come again this year. However, they're not going to bring the bus with them. In the past, I guess they've had a hard time getting the bus in the parking lot. But they're going to just bring the librarians and bring the robots and bring all the activities. So we're still going to get to coordinate with public library. So about that. In terms of activity stuff, first Saturday will begin in August. Information about that will be going live at the beginning of July.
All right,
Thank you.
Any questions? Got everything you need?
Yeah, we're doing good.
All right,
Everything's
good.
moving real good.
Yeah, good. All right, appreciate it. Appreciate all the hard work on that. Okay, now we're going to talk about tennis court, pickleball court. Some of you kind of walked in a little bit late, so just, we're going to open up the discussion and not have this be at the very, very end like we typically do with open comments. But if you want to make a comment, you're going to have to go up to the podium, keep this a little bit formal, and it's the only way that people on the call are going to be able to hear anything. So I guess I'll kick it off. Should I just kick it off by summarizing where we're at and where we've been so far with the thought process? Probably the best way to do it. So we do not, let me change my camera here. So we've been looking at this tennis courts for a while to replace them. They're beyond the point of just resurfacing. I think everyone's aware of that, especially those of you that play on it. The balls are the dead spots in the court. That's not really fixable. So we're finally to the point where we're going to have to completely replace the court, tear it down, tear the concrete out, and replace it, which is a pretty expensive and time-consuming endeavor. So we don't want to take that lightly, and we want to do what's right for the town while we're doing it. So we've been trying to solicit feedback from all of you guys, the folks that are using the court, not only pickleballers but also tennis players that play on the courts as well. And we've got several different ideas. All of them are going to be expensive, like hundreds of thousands of dollars. Even just replacing the courts as they are today is beyond our budget. So we are going to have to go to the town council with an architectural plan, a budget, options, and then get funding partially from the town and partially from us to replace the courts. We think that at a minimum, we're going to be looking at a 2026 project because we certainly don't have the funds budgeted for this year. We're going to have to do it next year, get it all planned, get whomever it's going to be scheduled to do it, and then kick it off as early as we possibly can in the spring. And hopefully not have to wait till the end of the year where we're not going to have usable courts until the 27th. So the options we're trying to keep as clean and easy as possible because there's a lot of land over there. We are trying to stay in the court area that we're at today. We're not limiting ourselves to just the paved area where the courts are because there are options to go to the east and possibly even to the south. So the first step is to get a survey done, a proper survey done of the area, which we've already requested. So the town is going to pay for that and have that done. That's in the works. Once we know whose property is whose on the courts, then we can get an architect in to do some drawing and do some options. So we're looking at 2 or 3 different architects that do this type of work for a living, if you will, have them draw up some options, but we want to keep it, like I said, as honed in as we can. So we don't have 10 different things to think about. We need to be able to go to the town council with 2, maybe 3 options for courts. And so what we're thinking about, the options would be, option 1 is just replace exactly what we have. This is presuming that maybe we can't get funding to add anything or change a whole lot of what we have. That would just be brand new pavement, new courts on both sides. And then you all are here to talk about, do we have dedicated pickleball on one side and tennis on the other? Do we leave it just like we have it today? What are the positives and negatives of all of that? And then the other option would be that we add some space however we can, limiting the amount of trees that we take out. No matter what we do to add court, we're going to have to take some trees out. They're not particularly nice looking trees, and they are a nuisance to the courts, having trees around the courts. But that's what it would entail, is taking some trees down. And then if we add any more court space, that would be definitely a dedicated pickleball court. So if we could get everything we wanted to get, I think all of us would probably sit here and agree that we would have 2 dedicated pickleball courts, at least to the east and possibly a little bit south of where we are today, but touching existing courts with permanent nets, etc. The middle court would be courts are just like they are today, where we can remove and replace and bring back the nets, and we'll keep funding that. We'll keep buying good nets with the wheels, and we just ordered several sets of those. And then keep the court to the right as a dedicated tennis court. And then if we run out of court area and it still becomes a problem, we could always reline the right side court for pickleball as well as tennis. So did I sum up what we've been talking about pretty well there?
Yeah.
Any other comments?
No, that's kind of been our going in plan, just as an idea. But again, love to get some feedback from people. And one of the big questions we have, I think, is pickleball versus tennis. Is anybody here primarily a tennis player? Is anybody here primarily a pickleball player?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, we're just trying to gauge the need for tennis versus pickleball. And, we don't want to disappoint tennis players, but we also don't want to have tennis courts going unused when they could be dedicated pickleball courts.
Yeah. And so we went through this iteration, I think before you even were here, Paul. So a couple of years ago, we redid the courts again, and we were going to make the left side permanent pickleball. And once we got way down a path, we were almost ready to do it. And then people started hearing about it in the town. They started flocking into the meetings, and tennis people got really upset. Why would you ever do that? I mean, we can play both things on both courts. What's the problem? Just reline them and let's just move on. So that happened after the fact, and that's kind of why we ended up with what we have today. Plus there was extra, cost involved with dedicated pickleball. And we really only have, Paul's been looking into the space on the existing courts. If our courts were wider, we could probably put 4 dedicated pickleball courts on the left side tennis court. But given how wide we are over there, that would be really tight and probably difficult to play and have balls bouncing inside each other's courts all the time. So I guess, and Elena's the one that's been really, spearheading the talking to architects and talking to builders. And so we're going to be hopefully having an architect lined up pretty quickly that we're going to pay to draw some things up and have it in 3D. We'll bring things to this meeting. We'll bring things to the town council and start prepping everybody for what we think this might end up costing, which could end up being $400,000 for all we know. Replacing the courts as they are today is probably upwards of $150,000 because the fences have to come down, they get replaced. Everything on there is new. So it's quite expensive. So I guess I'll pause there, and you guys want to get up and comment, suggest, we're taking notes. Love to hear what you guys have to say about it. If you could state your name and your address as well when you do that.
Erin Conley and 2505 Shorewood. So really appreciate your sense of urgency truly for the pickleball courts. We've been grateful to Michiana for allowing us to play for the last 2 years, but I don't know if you know that shortly we will be charged a parking fee to be able to play there. So, and in these courts, as you know, you said the dead spot's a little bit dangerous. And we are the last beach community to really address these pickleball courts. New Buffalo, Michiana, Michigan, Michiana, Indiana, Duneland, so we do need a little perking up out here. So again, just wanted to offer a couple tips. Based on the courts that you were talking about, I don't feel 2 courts for pickleball are enough. And to line for both tennis and pickleball, you may as well just throw a basketball court line in there too. If you're trying to play the sport, the lines, it's just really, it's impossible. And I'm just deciding if you're basing it on community size for the number of courts. I mean, I would use Michiana, Michigan as an example. They have 4 courts. They have 1 tennis court that is lined for pickleball. I think it's usually used in desperation, unless the tennis people are out there. Couple other things for the courts that we really don't have out here right now are benches on the inside of the court. Just, a little bench for people to be able to sit at as they're waiting. As well as something that it's called next up holders. So when you have that sense of community, like you come as a single, you start putting your paddles up. That is something that we currently don't have. And really trying to keep those pickleball courts truly underneath the lights.
Can you elaborate on that last thing you said, under the lights? What do you mean?
Really keeping the pickleball courts under the lights, where they currently are, the tennis courts.
if we redo all this, the lights would be new as well. There'd be
Yeah, it would be
LED
new
lights,
lights and
new
everything.
poles. We'll put them.
For sure. Yeah, they would be lit up. Yes,
Yep.
please. I'm sorry, your name?
Jean Ann Cannon, I live at 005 Nethercliff. With regard to the tennis situation, and for everyone, I don't think it's a problem to have some beat. I mean, the whole thing of one just tennis.
Well, it depends on what, I mean, Aaron said the lines, you said it's like unplayable. If there's,
Play it just much more difficult. I don't know how difficult it is.
Can you guys talk into the microphone? Jean Ann keeps cutting out and I can't hear you, Aaron.
Oh, okay. I'm
just step forward. There you go.
I lost my train of thought there. You know, it's always concentrating on what color is your line, right? Like where the blue lines here, pickleball, white's tennis, you know, it's unfortunate. If we're going to do it, I think we should do it right and spend the money and invest in it.
So I guess my question is, if you wanted to allocate one court just, is that a good idea, or should it be tennis that could also be, might be?
Yeah, and I don't know that we have a strong opinion on that. It might be the tennis people that might say, well, it's unplayable if you put all the pickleball lines on it. You know, so again, if nobody in town plays tennis anymore and no one cares, then that would lean toward what you're saying, you know, for sure.
One question, is there ever the option to keep the courts separated and put the tennis courts back where they originally were way back in the day behind the school? Those were the tennis courts?
That's before my time. Our main constraint really is going to be funding. But whenever we start doing that, it just gets more and more expensive. So potentially yes, but we'd have to figure out where that money would come from, and it might take longer to save up enough money to do it that way, if that makes sense.
And I actually think that is one of the issues, because it was looked at even with the architects that we've talked to, because there is space there, but it is a revenue problem. And the thought to not have arguments between tennis players and pickleball players, maybe separating them has that advantage.
The
But
noise,
yeah, but
Yeah, I mean,
unfortunately, it's a financial.
Noise evidently has been an issue. So-
Yeah, it's been an issue here. That's a good point. So history, again, we were asked to put pickleball lines on the asphalt over by the community center. And we decided as a parks, we talked to the community center, we talked to the tenants of the community center, and unanimously, everyone was like, please don't put pickleball over there. It's so loud. There's only a wall there to block the sound. It's going to echo the sound out this way. And so we very quickly made the decision that we were not going to put pickleball or racket sports over against the community center because of the tenants of the community center. So that was thought about. And we decided not to do that. Now, it doesn't mean we can't rethink that or whatever, but cost, I think, is going to be prohibitive if we get into, maybe it's a multi-year project and maybe that's 3-4 years from now, we look at that. But I think the first step of this is going to have to be, we got to limit ourselves to the area where we are today.
Which includes a little more area potentially. If you're looking at the courts, we can go, I think, to the left a little bit. There's some trees there now, but I think we can use some of that area. So the question is just, how do you lay out all these courts to get the maximum courts in the space that we have, keeping it all in one area?
And no, we don't have to have dedicated tennis. I mean, we don't want to eliminate tennis because we use tennis for the summer camp. People do play tennis. So we're not going to not have a tennis court. It's just a matter of how do we line it? And that could be up for public opinion. You know, the town's putting out a survey soon, hopefully. And I think there's going to be some verbiage in there about how many people would like dedicated this, dedicated that, and get some opinion from the rest of the town as well. And we'll continue to cycle this through. You know, we'll put Facebook posts out. We'll post things to the town council minutes. We'll do everything we can to get this out to encourage some discussion, because tennis players typically aren't in here. You know, for some reason. I think you guys all play in groups and you know each other and you've got chats and you know, I think there's just a bigger contingent of the pickleball people. Yeah.
And I, again, would like to say thank you.
You're welcome.
Not a problem.
In the process.
Okay.
No, we don't have to worry about that.
Question, first of all, are you,
Can you, Yeah.
Pat Burke, 1302 Lakeshore Drive. I've lived here for 1 year. So first of all, I would just like to mention, the nice thing about Pickle is it does really build a sense of community. I'm new to the area. I would say a good third of the people that I've met and had over to our house are as a result of playing Pickle, both from Michiana and this area. So that is one really nice thing for a sense of community. Secondly, just a question. Will the survey be done before the architects work on potential plans? So they'll know how much space they have?
I don't know when the survey.
That's a good question. Maybe Anita, can you mind chiming in and do you know when the survey is going to be ready?
I don't, but I'll find out for you pretty quickly. And I also want to speak too. So, but I'll find out for you during the meeting.
Yeah, just a suggestion, you probably want to run that survey before you have an architect draw up plans and pay them, because they're going to need to know what space they can work with in order to do it.
Yeah, they're doing.
It has been requested.
You're talking about the survey for land?
I'm talking about what do you have available so you can figure out.
The
what
search,
you want.
that'll be done shortly.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we've already,
Yes, yes.
we've already.
That's in
I
progress.
thought you were talking the survey for,
The
okay.
community
Sounds
Opinion survey versus land survey.
And then I think in a perfect world, based a couple things to think, you could also do some fundraising maybe. I think there's plenty of people in this room, including myself, who would be happy to get involved with that. That may help you with some of the funding.
That was one suggestion, was that through the U.S. Tennis Association and maybe perhaps the U.S. Pickleball Association, that there may be some grant opportunities. We haven't really looked into that.
Yeah. So I mean, you could, I mean, if you're interested in that, I'm sure plenty of us would get involved. And I suspect there's even some individual people that would potentially pony up some funds,
Yeah.
attached. They don't get anything for it, but just it's good for the community.
Well, that would
Yeah,
be
that'd be
helpful to
great.
know too, in terms of our
For sure.
planning, you know.
Yeah. And then the last thing might just be this is an opinion. Other people have other opinions. If you can do it, have at least some pickle courts completely separate. They're just exclusively pickle courts.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then if you need to use tennis courts to maximize space, I have no idea what space you'll have, but you could have 2 dedicated pickle courts, a shared pickle and tennis, and then maybe a tennis or something like.
That's the design we're trying to have.
That's option 2.
Yeah, I mean, I think I used to be a big tennis player, and this is for what it's worth. And when I go over to Michiana, there's way more pickle going on. Tennis. I mean, there's lots of, and again, you need to satisfy the tennis people, no question. But if you look at the stats, that's what happened in people playing tennis versus pickle. There's a lot more pickle, but you obviously have to have tennis as well. But when I'm over at Michiana, Paramount, I've never seen somebody waiting to play tennis. Tennis court is open a lot.
Right.
So
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with my observations too. And given the situation with the courts in Michiana, that's only going to get worse for here, because people are going to stop using those if they get their way, and we'll have more people coming to ours. So, yeah,
and I suspect they won't get their way because
not sure either. It's interesting. Yeah, it is interesting.
thank you.
Thank you
Thank you.
and welcome.
Shannon Wojcik, 2024 Golden Gate Drive. This might be putting the cart before the horse in a way, but you mentioned a large dollar investment that the community is going to put together for these courts. And I would very much encourage thinking safety first, because one thing you will find with tennis next to pickleball, if the courts are not done correctly, maybe even putting some permanent fencing between them, you have tennis balls going a lot faster under feet of individuals. And the clientele of pickleball is not getting younger, but we're very active. And stepping on a ball can really injure someone. So I really think we have to consider how those courts are aligned, because when you share a court next to 2 dedicated courts, you still will have balls flying at high speed. So just, if we're going to invest, let's invest for the best of the community's dollar and keep safety in mind, and not maybe take shortcuts there.
Yeah.
If we're trying to maximize courts and space and we do it incorrectly. So that's just my 2 cents. And I know, again, I'm getting ahead of the game, but just for
No, it's a good
thoughts
point.
while
No,
we
it's a good
plan.
point.
No, Paul, what you sent earlier today, and, being a tennis player, not a pickleball player, I was curious because how much room do you really need between pickleball courts? Because I don't play. So I never had a sense of that. And that was really interesting to read that.
The standard.
Yeah, I got these standards from I think it was like 10 feet, but it does have, I mean, it's online, you can find it, but they have all these different layouts and charts. One of the other things, and this is what I wanted to ask you or anybody, and then something I hadn't thought of, is that the orientation should be north-south generally, because otherwise someone could be going into the sun. So is that a thing, I guess? And if we could do some, but they had to be east-west, is it a showstopper, or is east-west okay? Okay,
That's a luxury, Paul.
luxury, okay.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah, I would
great-
think tennis
great
would be
feedback.
more because they're serving overhead.
Yeah,
You're
we-
looking at
We've all had, yeah.
Okay,
But
good to know.
one suggestion also, if you are trying to envision what it could look like, I'd encourage a field trip to New Buffalo High School. They've done a very nice job at their courts there for pickle. They have separated tennis, but just the size of the courts, let's call it the fencing or gating between courts and the space they've used. Again, Aaron brought up paddle racking or paddle stacking to allow the community to take part. So they've just done a very nice job there, including a nice band shell overhang for people who are waiting out of the sun. So
Sure.
be a great field trip, and that's at the New Buffalo High School, I think.
We are working with, right now, landscape architects. Not only just. So very much to the caliber.
So again, thank you so very much for, again, taking this kind of matter seriously and with some urgency, because it is a growing sport and it is becoming a problem for those that play. So thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, we see this as like the courts are our second most used asset in the town besides the beach. So we take this very seriously, and we're going to do something. It's just a matter of how much funding we can get. So I would also encourage you guys to come to town council meetings, and just every now and again, speak up in the open comments in that meeting and show your support for what we're trying to do here, because that's where the funding is going to really come from, is the vote of the town council to allow us to spend some of the money we've got in our reserve, and also to pull some money from the town that's going to have to be budgeted for 26.
And we also recognize that while pickleball has been strongest with adults, that it is something that the youth, our summer camps, families for sure, can enjoy and be involved, together. So where it is now and where it's going is obviously continuing to just show growth.
I had one last question. Well, is anybody else? I know Anita wants to speak, but
Yeah.
while you're making your way up there, is this paddle rack, is that something we could do now? Isn't that just like a thing that you put out there and people could,
Yeah.
I think we could find
Not a
even
problem.
$20 in our budget for that.
Yeah.
I
So,
was just about to Google it because I don't know what it looks.
It's like racking.
I think.
Hi, Megan Miller, 2110 Lakeshore Drive. Just back to Patrick's point, I think fundraising outside of just funds within the councils is something that could be done. I know Pat and I have talked about it too. And also maybe having a group do fundraising for this actually to gain even more funds, like, I don't know, just sitting here,
Mark.
wheels. Yes, exactly. So it's just my 2 cents.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, do you want to lead that up then?
we got to volunteer.
I'm sorry, what was your first name again? Megan, thank you. Thank you. I got that part.
Kelly Burke, 1302 Lakeshore. So this is sideways and I apologize, but I just wanted to add something for future 26, 27, 28. Land that might be available for future projects. I'm just planting a seed. I've talked to a lot of folks who are also interested in potential paddle in the winter. And I'm not sure if that's a topic that's been broached best internally, but if you're going to add or send out a survey, could you include paddle on that, please? Because I would be interested to see how many people would be creating a paddle area.
So that survey you're talking about is the town council survey that's going to come out. So I think the APC is putting that together. I'm not mistaken. So that'd be who to reach out.
I'm not
Yeah.
I don't think paddle's going to fit here, obviously, but
Right,
like there's
but-
got to be land potentially somewhere. If we're going to continue to evolve,
Mhm.
I think that could be a good next step also. I just wanted to plant the seed
Mhm.
and I am fully on board with fundraising as well. So, Kelly Burke, sales.
Thank you.
Closed.
Anyone else? Going once, going twice, because we're going to move on.
Can I just say one thing regarding the fundraising? If anybody has any connections with Franciscan Hospital or whatever, there could be opportunity with health and wellness that they might be open to making a donation, or a grant towards that.
Should I go ahead and speak?
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
he was,
sorry.
sorry, he was at the
Yeah.
podium. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
go
know,
ahead.
Paul, just for your information, the new Zoom is great, but for some reason it keeps cutting out.
Is it just the podium or is it everybody?
I thought it was just the podium, but then when Elena was speaking, some of the words cut out, and I don't know why it's doing that. I thought it might be my iPad, but I've moved it around a little bit. So I'll zoom in on another meeting just to be sure that it's not just me.
Yeah, we'll check it out.
We'll speak into the microphone and see if it improves it.
Okay, but otherwise it's great, and I want to thank Paul for that. I'm just looking at a couple of quick notes, and Zach, you're correct, and for the community, the Advisory Plan Commission, sorry, I have the pollen has gotten to me. We are in the midst of beginning a update to the 2016 Town Comprehensive Plan. So there will be surveys, there will be questions we will send out by email, by mail. We encourage people to weigh in, not just on pickleball and tennis, but on the town in general. I don't want to see everything go to pickleball because I do walk the town frequently. I know Zach does too, and other people. And the tennis courts are frequently in use. I understand pickleball is popular, but I do frequently see sometimes the tennis courts all being used for tennis. So I hope we stay aware, we keep track with that. You mentioned trees coming down, and I want to know if the Beach Garden Club has looked at that, if that would affect their shade garden. And in terms of revenue, the town is facing a loss in revenue over the next 3 years, about a bill that I believe is starting, and Joy knows better than I do, but July 1st, where for a period of 3 years, the towns across Indiana, because of the new, the Republican governor and the governor who is in office, will be cutting funds to all the towns in Indiana. So that's a big consideration in terms of big projects like this. So any help that people want to give would be really appreciated. I'm sorry, I'm just looking at my notes real quickly. And I just want to be sure that people, and again, thank you for bringing up the community center, that just is not realistic. We have all but one room there rented out at the community center. So those tenants keep that community center going in terms of revenue. And we really pay attention to what they think, and they absolutely really did not, as Zach said, they did not want pickleball next to them. I don't hear pickleball. I know some people live closer to it, so I'm not sure how big we can make it. And in terms of looking at other land, that would be great. That also would cost money, and I'm not sure what land the town would be willing to give over to pickleball. Thank you.
Thank you.
Need a park, need a dog park.
Dog park.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. Hot button for you. Okay, really appreciate all the comments, and if there's nothing else, we're gonna go ahead and move on, and no offense if people want to go, or you can stick around. We've probably got another 20 minutes of discussion before the meeting's over, but thank you.
Thank
Thank you. We
Gary.
appreciate it.
May you all win your next game.
Die for any balls.
Can I follow up on something that Anita said, Ellen? Is there any kind of, how do we go about if we had to cut down trees? Is there any kind of process, like we do it in the right way? Sorry. Don't mean to put you on the spot, but you are here, so.
Ellen Lynch, I'm the chairperson to the tree board. And I live on Lakeshore Drive. Okay. In it, we have in the ordinance, it's written that any tree that comes down on town property can only be taken down by by filling out a permit. And usually, mostly that surrounds around, do they want it removed? Are they trying to just get rid of it? And we just don't let people take trees down for any reason. That being said, what you guys are talking about with new infrastructure to expand the community and what they want to have in this community, and the fact that those trees are very messy, and Tom would probably love not have to blow the cords off. I don't know the consideration of taking any of those down, but I think the architect would have to do that. And I don't know how deep those roots are. Usually those trees, they go down. So that alone, you're talking tens of thousands of dollars to have those trees, whatever tree you're taking down. Taking trees down are not cheap. So, and we don't want to be taking trees down that are nice trees, junky trees. I try to be pragmatic about trees, but I mean, really, if you're going to do an expansive thing, people take trees down to build homes and stuff like that. But we want to not lose the one thing in our community that is really nice, trees. So that being
Okay.
said, anything, do you have any questions?
No, that helps. Thank you. So there is a process and
There is, yeah.
great.
Okay, we'll move on to stop landscaping and general upkeep. And I think this is just free for all on stops. I think everyone's aware of stop 29. We've got a unsafe condition where part of the boardwalk is below another part of the boardwalk. It's about 6 inches of a step. It's stable now to be walked on, but it's not, it definitely needs to be fixed. So Larry Wall has gone down, taken a look at it. It's not, fortunately, not a big issue to get that fixed. So we're going to get a quote from Freddie Woods and his company, and we could get a quote from Duneland if we want to as well. But I think this is not one where we're going to have to bid out to multiple people. I think it's going to be
Pretty small.
yeah, if you,
Okay.
you know, a couple $1,000s maybe to get that shored up, and that'll get us past the season. And then we're still looking for quotes. This is a separate topic, but we do need to replace all of Stop 29's boardwalk from the aluminum area all the way up to the top. Pretty expensive. We think that's going to be in the $50,000 range probably to do all that work. So we're looking actively for quotes, and I've had one person say, sorry, we're not going to quote it. We're going to get another quote. I know one person's going to quote it, but we need to get as many as we can get. So if anybody knows contractors who might want to bid on something like that, I'll put a Facebook post out about it. We need to get some quotes for a project of that size before we go and do it. We'll need to get a building permit as well. But well, at least one of the contractors has already talked to Larry Wall about what would be expected to get a building permit to replace what's there today.
Which section? Second part.
The second part I'm talking about, which is the big part, is to replace from the aluminum. Have you familiar with it? Yeah, so the aluminum, or that starts all the way up to the street.
Okay.
It all needs to be replaced. Every year now, we're going in multiple times a year and replacing stairs and replacing boards, and it's ready. Definitely needs to get replaced.
And that, I believe, is in the budget this year. So
It is,
that's-
correct. We will do that this year, one way or the other.
Yes.
And probably going to do it in the fall when the weather starts to turn, so we don't disrupt any spring, summer activities at 29. But I think luckily, this fix is going to get us by the season.
Yeah.
The
Good.
short-term fix. And we are going to go ahead and put that fence up. We got that email from TJ.
Yep.
I don't think that's anything we have to vote on. We've been talking about doing that for a year. Just a delineation fence, so you can proceed with that.
Yep.
Any other general stop upkeep questions or comments?
I'll just make a comment about, not stop it, at the park on Golden Gate. There was some damage from heavy equipment as they were doing some of the drainage work. We had a contractor go in and fix that, planted grass seed. We're just trying to figure out if there's a way to water it because without water, it's not going to grow as well. There is a water spigot, it turns out, in the park. And I'm working with Greg to see if it's live or can be made live to hook a hose up to it.
Okay.
Hopefully that'll be back to full strength. And they cleaned out the park. It looks great.
Is the water on at 21?
The water is on at 21.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
All right. Oh,
Great.
22. I forgot to mention that. So that happened since our last meeting, correct? The damage, contractor damage at stop 22? I'm almost, I'm sure it did. So the contractor, the house just east of stop 22, they're doing some work. I was walking my dog the other day and there was basically a bobcat being driven up our beautiful grass at stop 22 that we had just resodded. It looked amazing. Completely destroyed all the sod, all the landscaping at 22. I asked them to stop, told them they didn't have a permit to do it. They weren't listening to me, giving me a hard time. So I went ahead and called the police and called the the building commissioner. Larry, thankfully, was able to just come right away and stop them. So they're in the process of paying a lot of fines right now for that. And there's a stop work order that's been out on that property for the last 2.5 weeks, I believe. So they're not able to complete or do any more work until they pay all their fines, and they agree with us on how they're going to fix the stop property immediately before they proceed, because it's coming up on the spring, and then they're going to have to come to the town council or the park board or both and get written permission from us if they're going to use our property to haul essentially building material from the basement up to the street, which is what they were doing that day. And they had already been told before they can't do that. So I was especially irritated with the contractors for doing that. They were also not registered with the town. So they're paying that fine as well. So it was a bit of a mess. I got a little excited that day. So that stop is usable. It's just all the landscaping is destroyed. So that's an update on that. Go ahead.
I saw you out there that day.
You're the one that I talked to. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wasn't the contractor, but I am contractor Chuck Donnelly. I'm here representing the homeowner there, Michael Moore.
Okay.
Who's 2202 Lakeshore Drive. He is contracted with Dan's Landscaping to put together a plan for fixing that.
Mm-hmm.
And that will be submitted to you guys here shortly. And they are going through and paying all the fines and everyone's getting registered. So I'm here to give you an update on that.
Thank you.
And let you know that that's all in the process. Hopefully it can move about as quickly as possible. And because he's committed to getting it taken care of and getting the project moving and making that house whole again.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other stop?
Well, we have new business. Yeah, stop 26. Wait till then.
I think that's it then. Yeah, stop 29 Boardwalk. We've already talked about that. So yeah, we're at 26 then.
So stop 26, somebody damaged a tree by girdling it, which I didn't know what that was until I looked it up. And then I found out it's terrible. It's an attempt to kill the tree by cutting off all the bark or in a circle around it. So someone did that surreptitiously, tried to hide it by covering it with pavers from a nearby walkway. And we don't know who did it. The police have been trying to ask around and find out. But so far we have no idea. We've ordered some tree paint based on the advice from CNA arborists who we met on site. He said it's likely to die in 2 or 3 years. What we can do in the meantime is try to, make our best effort, put some special tree paint on it, and then wrap it in tree wrap. But he said that's unlikely to actually help. So unfortunately, that's the case. We have ordered that material, the paint and the mesh, and Ellen and I are going to go do that once it comes in and get that fixed up. Kendra had suggested, and I think this might be a good idea, to put a sign up near there saying if anyone has any information related to the damage of this tree, criminal damage to this tree, please contact the town hall. whether anybody will or not, it makes it very clear that we're taking it seriously and it is criminal and people should not be doing that. So,
And the same thing happened in New Buffalo, and they did put a sign up with a reward up there. So something is happening. Maybe, I don't know if it's
I
the same
think people
person or
just,
not, but
well, yeah.
yeah.
But do you mind going up there? Otherwise Anita won't be able to hear you.
And one thing we did do with the town ordinance, we updated it again, and we really put hefty fines on people that take trees down or damage them. And we really want to watch, and Jan told us to do the circumference because we have a real system of replacing a tree that they take down. And it'll be quite a stiff fine. So and we felt that would deter people to think that they could just take a tree down and nobody would notice. But anyone watching this meeting, we notice.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sadly, I think the people that would do this are probably not watching the meeting.
Yeah. And for the record, we did get an email from a resident that lives nearby there, wondering about if it's unsafe to have a tree there that's about to collapse. And we did have an arborist come and look at the tree. Tree's going to be fine. Tree's not going to go anywhere. It's a big tree. But we will definitely keep an eye on that. Every year we'll have somebody come take a look at it. If it becomes dangerous, we will for sure take out the tree.
Yeah, he was very specific on that. Even if it does die in 2 or 3 years, it will just be a big dead tree for a long time. And it would be quite some time before it becomes dangerous. But at some point, we'll have to take it down. That could be, who knows how many years from now. And it could make it. I'm rooting for the tree. You never know. We won't cut it out just yet.
All right. Does anybody else on the board have any other business that I'm missing today?
Questions on the Art in the Park in July 26th.
Mm-hmm.
One question was that usually the counselors help with the children's activities. Oh, thank you. Sorry. That the counselors, summer camp counselors help with the kids' activities at Art in the Park. And the plan is still to be doing that this year. Cindy was who kind of brought me up to speed on the event. She wasn't sure whether the counselors got paid for that or if that was volunteer. Okay, so we're just all on the same page. The other question that I have just in transition, and I thought maybe Cindy would be here and could answer it, is that we usually get Valpo, the ice cream.
Yep.
Know about that. We were also trying to get some other food vendors, but some of them, one that we had contact was Redemax, and they were saying they don't do public events anymore. They only do private events where they're told, we have 200 people coming. They're all going to eat lunch and get a sandwich of whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I had contacted Sue Keenan, who handles the exhibits and who started Art in the Park. And she was saying, well, we could take maybe about $1,000 and put that towards, getting a food truck. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm knowing who I'm supposed to follow. And
Did you say Pepe's? I was going to say the same thing.
yeah,
Yeah, we
Pepe's,
did that last year.
Pepe's.
Yeah.
is he good?
Yeah.
Well, I know Pepe's had done Summer Dunes Theater or whatever last year, so I was going to contact them. But did other than Valpo Velvet, where we're doing free ice cream up until a certain amount of money, most of the food truck people were willing to come and just hopefully sell their wares on their own. Okay,
Yeah. I think we had a minimum with Pepe. I believe we had a minimum.
we did.
Joy would know better than I would.
Okay.
I can email, or you can email her tonight, but I'm pretty sure we had a minimum, and I think that would be fine. We're going to hit a minimum. If the weather's good, we're going to be fine.
Okay.
Yeah. I think we could fund that.
All righty. So then
Yeah.
I'll start with Pepe, see what they said it was last year, check with Joyce, and then we'll take it from there. But I don't think Redemax is going to be doable because they were looking at like 3,000.
Yeah. Okay. All right. There'll be plenty of others that we can get, but
Okay.
yeah, we're open to, just let us know what the amount is. I think we'd be open to minimum
Okay.
for their trouble, but they do have to get permitted well before the event.
Yeah.
So they need to get, yeah.
Yeah, and we talked about the electric line 220 is what they would need, or otherwise a generator to be able to provide it.
And Elena, I think Pepe's is now permanently, it stays at the Dunes Summer Theater. he was kind of slow the last couple of years and a little unreliable. So he's not really contracted. He runs an ad in the paper and Joy can help you with that. But I'm pretty sure that he's not going to be available this year.
Who's that, Pepe?
Yeah, he keeps his truck now at the Dooms Summer
It
Theater.
does. Oh,
He doesn't pay them, but his truck stays there permanently.
okay.
I've got some info from last couple of years that people we've reached out to. So we'll find some trucks.
Okay.
One or two. I'm sure we will.
Okay. All names and contacts people would be appreciated.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing up Art in the Park because I didn't have it on the agenda and I should have.
And Sue said at I spoke with her last week, she had about 12 to 14 vendors that have signed up for this year.
Good.
I've also contacted the Service League from New Buffalo regarding maybe cross promoting because they do their big craft show in October, and they could certainly promote that at our show. And then they may have some vendors who would like to participate in our show this year.
Okay. What about music? We talked about.
Service League in New Buffalo.
Service League.
Is Sue going to get the same musician that was here last year?
Donnie V has been contracted and he'll be coming back.
Good. Right. So that's anything else from anyone? That was a good one. Thank you for bringing that up.
My pleasure.
Any other public comments? Okay.
One about pickleball, there's a technology called Sound Block and it's in the fencing. So I didn't know if you were aware of that. The other is I think we talked about this before, but the IHCDA grant, which is a match grant through the state of Indiana. And I'm in another not-for-profit organization and it's crowdfunding based. And we knocked it out of the park. You only get a match up to $50,000 with IHCDA, but all of the other proceeds that people volunteer their funds to are would be kept by parks.
Yeah, no, that would be great. So if we could raise $50,000, we get a match from the grant.
Mhm. And then whatever else you raise on top of the 50. So how we promoted ours was like, it's 50 plus, folks. We aren't going to stop at 50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's keep going.
Is
And
this the
then,
kind of grant that's competitive that you may or may not win, or is this like an automatic thing?
they give them out quite
Okay.
frequently, but the end date, I think their fiscal year is the end of May. So I'll check on that and send you the information. I think I left you a packet before, but because you want to get in line first.
Right.
Yep. So any help that any pickleball people could that have time, a lot of us still work, and we do this on volunteer basis. We could really use some help if somebody wants to own some fundraising. We could, provide advertisement money. We could provide funding for whatever it takes to get that started, but just like legwork would be super helpful. So you guys are still going to talk to the folks that left any of that legwork. If they can contact me or Paul or anybody else on the Parks Board, Elena, our emails are public. They're on the website, town website. We'll get you set up however we need to. It'd be very helpful.
ICDA is Indiana.
IHCDA, Indiana Housing and Community Development Association. And a question about what is the policy for signs at stops? I was asked by a Beach Garden Club, Garden Walk member, if we can put signs at the stops. And I said, I don't know what the policy is. Then someone else asked about doing quotes at the stop. So do we have a policy? And
there's a town policy about signs on public property or even your own private property. Even contractors aren't allowed to put signs up at their property. So we get real estate signs and we get open house signs on stop property often, and I'll just remove them or call somebody to come and take them away.
Great.
But if it's for the town and if it's something that's going to benefit the town, then that's a decision I believe that we get to make.
Also, have we considered maybe doing like a bulletin board that would have to be put up by somebody from the town that's behind glass or something when it's a major event that the town is putting on?
Well, there's that one.
there's,
Like our-
there's.
Yeah, but I mean, in other than just this one location, and some of the stops or other parks that are utilized more.
I'm not a big, I'm just me talking, but I'm not a big fan of extra signs at the stops.
Right.
Just because we've got, the danger, no swimming, we've got all the rules, we've got no parking, and they just become redundant and people stop looking at them. And so, I mean, if it's a temporary sign, it's well done. It's something that's going to benefit the town. I'm sure we can make a decision to decide if we're going to allow that or not. We'll put a
Okay.
sign up for, stop.
You have
26.
something in mind?
For the garden walk.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
I don't think that's going to be a problem.
Okay.
Can I just jump in for a minute? Sorry. Beach Garden Club is a private event. It's not a town-sponsored event.
Okay, that's a good point. That's a fair point.
Good
Yep.
point, Anita. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Appreciate
Thanks.
it. Okay, if there's no more further comments, look for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Right. Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for coming.